here to bring it home for Team Invisibility. Please welcome Michael Ian Black.
Thank you. Oh, that's good water. Look at that, you can see right through it, can't you? Were I to remove the plastic cup, which also is invisible, you wouldn't even really be able to see it. It just, and yet, there's no more life-affirming substance in the world than this humble glass of invisible liquid. One of the prerequisites for life, according to NASA astrobiologists, is the presence of water. Interestingly, about 70% of the universe itself is comprised of an invisible, massless, weightless substance called dark matter, which we can only infer because it is invisible, and yet without it, everything that we know, our entire universe would cease to exist. It's just a point, it's just an interesting point to consider. Then again, when we talk about physical life, nobody's discussed emotional life or spiritual life. What are we without the invisible force known as love? I don't know. I honestly don't know what we are. I honestly don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment. What are we without love? What are we without flight? Humanity. Flight would be fun. To soar from a standing position above, to reach the clouds. That would be fun. It would be a dime store novelty trick. Fun once, sure. Hey, look at that guy, bird plane, etc. Annoying after a while, and consider the safety issues for a moment. If you could fly, what's the first thing that people would do? Try to shoot you down. You know I'm right. Think about it for even half a second. You couldn't go anywhere without, at the very least, some asshole blinding you with one of those laser things. That's best case scenario. You land blind. If the oxygen deprivation doesn't get you first. Nobody considers the oxygen deprivation problem when considering the hypothetical superpower of flight. Has anybody been to Denver? You go to Denver, you walk half a block, you have to bend over at the waist to catch your breath. It's the mile-high city. Now go try going up from there. It's cold. Think about how you have to dress every time you want to go for a fly. You gotta bundle up in a snowsuit or something. You know, we see the popular depiction of the superhero in his or her skin-tight outfit going up for a fly, and that's fine. But consider you or I. You try going up in the air. You get about 50, 60 feet. You start to notice the temperature dropping. You say to yourself, I wish I brought a sweater. You get much higher than that. What's going on? Frostbite. It's uncomfortable. You might have to go to the bathroom. And Dana, I don't care what you say. Decorum dictates that you're not going to shit on cars. And just consider the mechanics of that for a second. You're flying. You gotta go. We've already acknowledged you're highly visible to everybody below. You're in a populated area, there's cars there, but you're flying and you go, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna shit on a car. So as you're flying, you have to unbuckle, you have to drop your trousers, keep them from falling off entirely, because when you're flying, keep in mind you're going very fast. The wind could take them right off your legs. Now, if you're a lady and you're flying, what's everybody going to be doing? Upskirt, upskirt, upskirt. I'm not wrong. You know I'm right about that.
Well, you could wait until like 4 in the morning. That's what
Right, now you got to set your alarm.
That's what I do it now when I can't fly.
Consider how exhausting it would be to fly. Who here jogs? You jog half a mile and holy God, I mean, you're just exhausted. You have to lay down after a while. Flying, the additional amount of energy expenditure, it's just got to be a nightmare. I want to bring up some popular moments from popular culture. We think about flying and we think, oh, that would be great, that would be great. But consider the culture and what the culture values. Invisible Sun, classic novel about, it's a classic of black literature. Flying Sun, that's not a book. The greatest comedic actor of the last 100 years, Chevy Chase, gave us Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Memoirs of a Flying Man. That's not a movie. Those are the only two examples I can think of. Janeane, you mentioned this, when they think about invisibility, they think about, I think perhaps, the loneliness, the sense of being unseen, and that could be perhaps an isolating feeling. But nobody considers the reverse of that. Invisibility would also make you incredibly seen. How? Because the ability to disappear implies by necessity the ability to appear. Think about how fun it would be to show up somewhere and then you just appear and people go, holy fuck, what was that? Where did you come from? And then that's an icebreaker right there. That's such a good icebreaker. For a moment, consider for a moment the very popular tiny house movement. Do you guys watch Tiny House Hunters? And if you haven't seen it, the tiny house, it's just a house, it's tiny. And when they talk to people, why do you want the tiny house? Why do you want the tiny house? It's to get off the grid, to simplify, to, in essence, become... That's right, you guys. To remove oneself from the cares and troubles of this world. People say, oh, it would just be pervs running around looking at naked folks. And would we do that? Sure we would. Sure we would. Of course we would. I'm not going to deny that. At first. But how long would that be interesting? A long time? Yeah, a long time. A long time. But after a while, even nudity would become banal. Even watching your boss taking a poo would become banal. And then you are left with, what have all the great writers, what have all the great writers said about themselves and about their art? They observe. They hang back and they observe and they communicate the human condition. And that's all invisibility is. It is getting in touch with the human condition. Myq talked about villainy. I say nay. Nay. It's not villainy. What invisibility offers you is truth. It invites the inspection of humanity at its most unvarnished. So nudity would become banal, but the nakedness of the human condition would be ever fascinating. As I close, I would ask you in the booth, can we lower the lights? Is that possible? Keep going. Keep going. Let's take it all the way down if we can. We can get the light in the back if we can. Turn off the screen. If we can. Let's imagine for a moment that we're sitting in darkness. When we come to the theater, an art form thousands of years old, maybe in a sense the oldest art form, the oral tradition of storytelling around the campfire as the light fades from the sky, what are we doing? We are uniting. We are exposing ourselves at our most vulnerable, sitting in the dark together. Yes. All of us feeling both alone and invisible, and yet never more together. Invisibility is a gift that we give each other when we expose ourselves. I don't know how exactly, but the words felt right coming out of my mouth. Laughter in the dark, the unself-conscious expression of joy. It's what brought us here tonight. Flights of fancy are fun, but invisibility rises and sets like the sun. Again, I have no idea what that means, but I thank you very much.